call the regular City Council meeting to order for June 6th, 2022. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
That's all right.
Mayor Hoyt.
Here.
Katie Porter, Councilmember Porter. Here. Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Burnjum. Here. Councilmember Lean.
Here.
All right. Any changes to the agenda? Nick, Katie?
I have none.
Steve? Joel, Lynn, Chris, Kelly, Chief, Cindy, nobody. All right, seeing no changes, looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Katie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on, we have our announcements. 5A is our proclamation of Juneteenth for the city of Farmington. Linda, do you want to take any part of this? Lead it or?
You can go ahead.
Okay. All right, so the city has been asked to consider making a proclamation for Juneteenth. Juneteenth is short for June 19th. It marks the day when federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865 to take control of the state and ensure that all enslaved people were free. The troops' arrival came after 2 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation by Abraham Lincoln. Juneteenth honors the end to slavery in the United States. Juneteenth is the longest running African-American holiday, and on June 17th, 2021, Juneteenth became an official federal holiday. So I will read the proclamation here real quick. Any comment, conversation, anything? Nope. Okay. So proclamation, June 19, 2022 as Juneteenth Day. Whereas the United States of America is a nation founded on the principles of liberty and justice for all, and the Civil War was fought to ensure that freedom would be shared by all Americans. And whereas on January 1st, 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which gave freedom to the slaves in the rebelling states. And whereas freedom became a reality for enslaved black people in Texas on June 19th, 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth by combining the words June and 19th. It has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas Juneteenth is the oldest known remembrance of the ending of slavery, celebrating freedom and justice for all Americans, and emphasizing education, achievement, and tolerance. And whereas communities throughout Minnesota and the United States unite on this day to honor freedom and encourage respect, tolerance, and the acceptance of all cultures. Therefore, I, Mayor Hoyt, Mayor of the City of Farmington, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth Freedom Day in the City of Farmington, Minnesota. Proclaim this 6th day of June, 2022. All right. And bear with me here. We will go. All right, item 5B. Present check to Rambling River Center for liquor operations. And Lynn, you do not have this one. This one is Josh. You're up, sir. Sorry, I'm an iPad guy, not a Surface guy. Too many windows here.
Hello, everybody. For those who don't know me, I'm Joshua Solinger, Liquor Store Operations Manager. And I came here, let me scoot up a little bit. I came here in November for our last fundraiser, where we almost doubled our previous record of $12,000 to donate to the Farmington Food Shelf. So when Cindy and I got together and started talking about our next donation, we thought the senior center could benefit from us doing a fundraiser for them. So I wanted to announce that we raised over $14,500 for the Farmington Senior Center to help them get a new van to transport seniors to activities and events.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know every time I went in to get something, my soda pop.
They asked me to
And I gave, yes. So I'm the board chair for the senior center. Thank you very much. We do have a lot of board members here, and we do thank you, everyone at the senior center. A lot of work. Thank you.
One,
That's where you can flash by.
I was safely out of
All
the
right,
last one, so
so, any comments, anything to add there? Nick, Katie, Steve, Carrie? Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion to approve the resolution accepting the donation in the amount of $14,531.30 to the Rambling River Center.
so moved.
Second.
Motion by Katie, second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nice job. All right, we will move on here to item 5C, which is the Dakota County Farmington Library presentation. And Barb, you're just going to take it, right?
Yeah.
All right. You do such a great job every year doing this, so.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so, let's see, do I have everything here? I do. Okey-doke. So, well, good evening, Mayor Hoyt, and good evening, council members. I'm happy to be here again. For those of you who have not met me before, my name is Barb Swoboda. I'm the branch manager at the Farmington Library. And tonight I have with me two of my newest staff members. I'm going to make them get up and introduce themselves on a couple of slides here in a minute or two. So we've got Amy Schreiber, who's our new children's librarian, standing behind me, and DJ Chouette is our new circulation supervisor with me tonight. So I'm just going to go ahead and plow right on to our next slide here and let you know what's been going on at the library. So, you know, we want to just spend a little bit of time this evening saying thank you to all of the Farmington residents and patrons of the library who have stood by us through the last couple of years. As you know, it's been a little bit tumultuous, what with COVID and all. And so we are finally starting to feel like we're rolling again. In 2021, we had 48,300 visitors to the Farmington branch, and that's about half of what we had pre-pandemic. But what I can say confidently is that just in the first months of 2022, we've already seen a 37% increase over last year's numbers. So we're really, really excited to see that things are really starting to roll again for us. So we've had 180,589 items checked out. That was in 2021 also. That was the year-end total. And what I can tell you about this year, we are already skewing 5,000 checkouts higher than that. And May, all by itself this year, topped our pre-pandemic checkout levels. So we're really, really excited. We really feel like we're back on our feet and we're rolling ahead, kind of steamrolling, really. Things are really looking up and looking really well. We're on a great upward trajectory here, and we're very happy about that. So thank you to all of you for standing by us and coming back as our doors open. We really appreciate it. The 9,949 people who attended programs with us this year, that was in 2021. Those are numbers across all 9 branches, and they include the new online virtual programs that we did as well. So that was a great innovation that we did to help us along through COVID, and we have found that some of our online programs are so successful that we'll continue those even though we're still kind of getting back to normal. So moving along. So some system highlights and some local highlights both on this screen. So this lovely young lady in the yellow shirt with the big smile on her face, this is Stella. Stella is a Farmington resident. She came to the library and was really happy to print out this little 3D printed bookmark in green that she's holding up there. She was so excited about her experience that her mom actually took a photo of her and posted it on her social media, then tagged the Dakota County Library, and we were so excited to see that feedback that we actually partnered with Stella and her family to do a promotional video for the library. So special awesome thanks to Stella and her terrific family for being willing to go on video for us and help us with that. The next thing I want to talk about are no youth fines. So back in January of this year, and with the approval of the county commissioners, of course, we were able to remove fines on all youth materials. The intent here is to ensure that youth always have access to our resources as they grow and work on their literacy skills growing up. And for those of you who are regular library patrons, you may have already seen an email surveys going out to folks asking them for their feedback on this initiative and how it's working for them and their families. So we'll be able to find out just what kind of an impact we're having on this program. So, Sunday hours, no, Farmington's not open on Sunday. We've never been open on Sundays, but the 7 out of the 9 branches that are usually open and had been closed during COVID, they are reopened now. So if you are really in desperate need of a library on a Sunday, you can go to Rosemount, Lakeville, or Galaxy. They're open from 1 to 5 on Sunday afternoons, 1 to 5 Sunday afternoons. So, and then we've got this wonderful new van here down at the bottom. This is brand spanking new for us. It is a pilot program. Clearly, it's got all of our graphics all over the sides. It's a community outreach van. We're calling it the On the Go van. And the whole point of this van really is to help increase our community awareness of the library and help us to connect with community members who may not normally use the library or may not have transportation to get to the library. So it's a way for us to go to where the folks are. And you know, the van's going to include things like a tent and tables and promotional brochures and giveaways and a mobile circ kit. It's also going to come with really, really smart, intelligent staff members who will help with all of that outreach programming that we do, and they will target the activities they do to the anticipated audience that will be at the event as well. So the van should be here in June, shortly on the 16th at our Mighty Machines program, which Amy will tell us more about in a minute. So we're pretty excited about that too. Okay, and I think that is Amy's cue here. So, Amy is our new children's librarian. Come on over.
Hello, council members. My name is Amy Schreiber. I'm the new children's librarian at Farmington. I came to this position after spending 7 years over in Wisconsin, so coming back to the motherland feels pretty good. It's great to be back in Minnesota. I'm really excited to be part of the Dakota County Library team and to share some of our upcoming summer fun events with you tonight. So Summer Discovery is coming back around on next Monday, so a week from today, June 13th through July 15th. Kids can receive a free book at sign up, as well as a summer activity log to track their reading and learning activities all throughout the summer. It's great for kids for all ages, from pre-readers. So if you've got a little baby at home and you're reading them some great board books, this is a program for you. If you have teens at home who are gobbling up some new books, this is a program for them too. So kids of all ages are welcome to be a part of Summer Discovery starting next Monday. We have tons of program coming back this summer, and my favorite is Storytime. Storytime is back, and we're partnering with Parks and Rec, and they've been so fantastic to work with. We're gonna have Storytime in 6 different parks all around Farmington, so we can highlight the parks and bring early literacy to our families again. We're gonna be doing 30 minutes of Storytime, and then the wonderful Parks and Rec interns are gonna do 30 minutes of great activities, perfect for the whole family. So come on out Thursday mornings from 10 to 11. We're gonna be in parks all over town. We are also bringing story trails to Farmington. So story trails are giant picture book pages on a big version of yard signs placed along a path, so you can roll, you can push your stroller, you can crawl, you can drag a wagon behind you, you can walk along and read a great story together as a family, so you're outdoors having a really good experience with literacy and books in a whole new format. And we're gonna have crafts tied into the end of each of our books. Each month we'll have a different book and a different craft, so feel free to come out to all of those. Also in 3 other parks. We are doing musical mornings, another fantastic partnership with ECFE 192. We're really lucky to have them as a partner this summer. We're bringing musical performers each month. Great for the kids. We're going to have the Bazillions, which is kids rock and roll. We're going to have Taiko Arts Midwest, which is Japanese drumming, and the Rosie Posies, which is a fun ukulele group. ECFE is going to be providing crafts and activities after those musical performers, so you can make a morning of it with the kids. Some of our standalone events, Barb already mentioned Mighty Machines. You can see the tractor up on the screen. The Dakota County Fleet asked for this program to come back, so we know they're as excited as we are to bring Touch-A-Truck back to Farmington. Right in the library parking lot. So we'll be blocking out the lot. We'll have vehicles of all different kinds, from dump trucks to fire trucks, and vehicle drivers are going to be right there. So if your kid has a burning question about the ladder, they're going to have an expert there to answer it. So Mighty Machines is coming right on June 16th, so just a couple weeks from now. Kids Craft Fair is back. Do you have an entrepreneur kiddo at your house who's been making stuff all quarantine? Bracelets, beaded necklaces, any kind of artwork or jewelry? This is the time for you to be able to encourage them to be a young business person. Open to ages 4 to 18, Saturday, June 18th. Anyone can stop by and purchase from our kiddos too. So make time on your schedule to stop by and see what the Farmington kids have been making. Move and Groove. I love doing dance, and we're dancing a lot at story times, and I thought we need a whole dance event. So we're doing Move and Groove at Lake Julia. We'll be dancing with scarves and shaker eggs and bubbles and using the parachute for all sorts of fun activities. So bring the whole crew down for that. The last thing I want to touch base on is the Twin Cities PBS Hero Elementary event. So we threw our names into a hat and were chosen by TPT, the Twin Cities PBS station, to host a Hero Elementary event. For those who don't have tiny kids, Hero Elementary is a really fun kids show on PBS, focusing on STEM. So it's going to be at Rambling River Park on July 9th. We will have a costume character photo opportunity. There will be STEM activities, snacks, and we have to do a special thanks and shout out to Twin Cities PBS and our Youth Services Coordinator, Renee Grassi, who have worked really hard to make sure that this big event is coming to Farmington. The summer is full. It's really full of fun library activities, and I can't wait to get started. I'm going to hand the mic over to DJ, our brand new circulation supervisor, to share with you some upcoming opportunities for teens and other volunteers.
Thank you, Amy. Not sure how I follow those two. Good evening, Mayor Hoyt and council members. I'm DJ Shuitt. I'm the new circulation supervisor at Farmington Library. I too am thrilled to be here. I bring with me 3 years of experience with Anoka County Library's Rum River branch. Rum River was the highest circulating branch in Anoka County, and I hope to bring that kind of success to Farmington Library as well. I'm going to take just a moment this evening to talk about 2 of our exciting summer programs. The first of those is Dakota County Library's new teen internship program, which we will be participating in. This is a short-term, 90-day shelving position designed for low-income teens aged 15 to 17. It is a paid position, sponsored in part by a federal community development block grant. The posting ends in just a few days on June 8th, so if you haven't gotten your applications in, please do. But we do hope to continue offering new cycles for as long as the funding and the grants continue. We want to say a special thanks to Amber Higgins from the Dakota Scott County Career Force offices for helping us to advertise and promote this terrific internship opportunity. The teen internship program shouldn't be confused, however, with our summer volunteer program, coordinated by our teen librarian, Andrew Cook, who is also awesome. The volunteers will learn valuable people skills, help kids join the summer discovery program, and assist with a variety of projects, including some of the fantastic programs that Amy just told us about. There is still time to sign up to become a volunteer, so we hope to hear from Farmington youth ages 13 to 18. We thank you for your time, and now I'll hand it back to Barb.
Okay, just a couple more slides here. So I do want to make sure that you are all aware of, and somebody took the rest of my notes. There we go. That's funny. Okay, so the top picture there is our brand new microfilm reader printer. So all of the really old reels of newspapers that we have dating back to the 1800s are now able to be searched and read and brought forward like Lauren Siebenhaller has been doing for the 150th anniversary. We got this set up just in time for her to be able to use it, so we're really excited about that. But I do have to say this little formal bit here. So this project was made possible in part by the people of Minnesota through a grant funded by an appropriation to the Minnesota Historical Society from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. So we're really happy to be able to have that in the library now. We've got more sewing machines and new sergers also, and I try to do monthly sewing classes for folks too. So in our iLab at the library, we try to do a little bit of the old mixed with a little bit of the new, and you know, all kinds of cool things can happen when you do that. So there is still a 3D printer in our building, and rumor has it we're getting an upgrade, so we're pretty excited about that too. And I was going to take you out to our website, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to pass out this wonderful little brochure, which you can all have. On the inside, it will tell you exactly how to navigate our website to our calendar of events, because we will not be having a printed program calendar this year. And so if you want to know what programs are happening in Farmington, you're going to definitely want to look at the calendar of events on our website. If computers are just not for you, which for some people it's not, and I get that, please feel free to stop in and chat with us at the desk. We'll be happy to walk through and let you know what's going on for programming at the library this summer. Okay. Now we've got a bunch of thank yous. Missy Colbeck, I've been working with you ever since I've been working here. Thank you so much for all that you have done for us across all the years. We really appreciate having you as a partner. It's been fantastic to work with you. Thank you. And thank you to Lauren Siebenhaller. I absolutely love your Farmington Feed podcast. She's not here tonight, is she? But it's just wonderful, and we really appreciate being invited to be guests on her podcast right away. Ryan Hayes from the Recreation Department has been working with Angela Hansen for the Geocaching Adventures program the last few summers. This started out as just a week-long thing during due days, and now it has blossomed into an all-summer event that takes families to all 25 parks in Farmington, although I hear there are more than that now. But anyway, it does get your residents out and about and having fun in the sun in Farmington Park, so we're happy to do that. Thank you to the Friends of the Farmington Library for the background work that they do, helping to fund some of our programs. When we need some extra cash, they're always handy and helpful and on our side to make things happen for us, so thank you to them. Thanks to the ECFE staff, Brianna Ostoff at Community Education. Thanks again to the Dakota County Fleet Management folks for the extra work that they did to get that on-the-go van ready for the summertime. And one other group that I'd like to thank that I didn't write on the slide here is the University of Minnesota Extension Master Gardeners Group. We are still going gangbusters with our seed library over there at the library. We've got twice as many seed varieties available this year and twice as many people checking them out as well. And this year the group has expanded a little bit and they're doing a teaching garden. So now you'll see some vegetables growing as you walk up to the library doors. I'm really excited to be able to do that. So if you should happen to see a ripe strawberry on your way in, feel free to have a nibble. So anyway, that is us. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to our stories this evening. This is the whole crew across the street. Come join us this summer. We have a great time always. So, thank you. Any questions?
Steve? I gotta tell you, Barb, every year your presentation just gets better and better.
Oh, thank you.
My only concern is Amy is really struggling with the enthusiasm. I just, Amy, if you want to, Blue Nose has great coffee in the morning.
She doesn't drink coffee.
So that actually perfectly leads into one of the questions I have. So I was actually online here, and you've got a lot of really, really good programs. Like I noticed Farmington Books and Brew, which I suppose you could have it with a beer or coffee, whatever.
That was the
Which is kind
original
of an
intention.
Yeah, kind of an interesting combination. So, I'm looking at this because I'm here and I'm, kind of familiar with this, but for residents who are not familiar with the types of offerings that the local library might offer, how do you kind of get that word out? Or is it just kind of word of mouth, or is it kind of just help us understand that part of it?
So a lot of it is word of mouth, like tonight. A lot of it is advertising through our social media posts, through our website. We did make the decision to not spend the dollars on a printed program guide this summer. And so we're hopeful that we can still get the word out even without that printed piece of material to hand to people. But we do a lot of hand selling at the desk when people come into the building too.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Lynn, is that something that, if we don't do it already, can we talk to Lauren about at least having a link from our website to the
Definitely.
library?
Yes,
Because I
good
think
idea.
we definitely want to do that.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Amy, your energy is palpable. So if Steve's sarcasm did not make sense to you, we appreciate that. I have 5 kids ranging in age from 1 to almost 14, and so you covered all the programs. We love to come there as a family. I'm sad to see that Wagging Tails is not coming to Farmington. That was my daughter's question.
August.
August, okay, we'll be hopeful for that. And then also my youngest daughter, who's just finishing kindergarten, Red Ripe Strawberry is her favorite book, so she will be the first to pluck that Red Ripe Strawberry from and have a taste. So, but I mean, truly to foster the love of reading now more than ever after coming out of this time, I think with our youth have seen, it's been so detrimental to them in their education, right? And so to foster this as a community is just amazing to see, and we appreciate it. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Katie?
I just wanted to say kudos to the great collaboration with our Park and Recs department. I love to see groups in Farmington working together, and so it's exciting to see the programs you guys put in place for this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll carry that. I really liked, I actually listened to Lauren's podcast with you guys. I put it on to try and have it in the background while I was working, and it ended up distracting me from my work for about an hour because I listened to you guys instead of working. So really cool. I would recommend everyone kind of listen to it if they need something to have on in the background. It's got a pretty cool background of the library, where it used to be, what it's, given that it's the 150th year, you guys had a lot of insight into the past with that too. So really cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Barb, you do a phenomenal job every year. Steve said it well. I'm 43. I grew up with the library in the old City Hall that is now the Ramblin' River Center, right? Like, I don't want to age Andy, but he was there not too long after that. And I thought for a second, oh no, Andy's not at the library anymore, and then I see him, I'm like, okay, good, he's still around.
Here. He's not going anywhere, people, okay? He has one rare day off, and they're like, where's Andy? Is he still working here?
Right. But, we grew up in a time when, our summers were around the library, right? It was center of town, and everything was there. It was the book clubs and the activities, and as things have changed, taking nothing away from the extension office and, community ed and park and rec, everybody has program offerings. But we quickly forget about the library and how many unbelievable options are available. Not just to youth, but into our young adults and even, older adults. There's a lot of programs out there. I encourage people to take time to get to the library. Go over there and see what they have to offer, because you'll be floored as to the things that, you're like, oh my God, they have this and they have this. Yeah, there's a ton of programs. The 3D printing classes that you did a few years ago, pre-COVID, were like, oh my God, those are so cool. Get people over there, and that's what, I guess that's a message I'm trying to get to, is that don't forget the library exists. Don't forget it has a ton of great options available for programming, and for all the things that, you say can't happen around town. There's a lot that the library offers. So please be intentional in getting over there, and your team does a phenomenal job, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome
very
anytime.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Item 6 is our citizen comments. If there's any citizens who would like to speak at this time, feel free to come on up.
I thought you were going to go first.
Before you start, I'm just going to read this real quick. Citizen comments are a time for anyone to address the city council on matters not on the agenda. Those speaking should state their name and address and limit their comments to 5 minutes. The city council will not engage in discussion on your topic, but those issues requiring a response will be responded to by the next council meeting. The city council asks that anyone speaking at the meeting please be respectful. You're good to go.
Okay. You want to go first? You go first.
My name's William Pilak, and I was wondering what's going on with that property down on Elm there where they used to have the Ford dealer? They're supposed to be going to restaurant down there across from the Long Branch. Oh, what's going on with that property down there now? There's a glass place in there now.
With the Dakota Motors building,
Yeah.
well, we can make sure that we have either Tony or Callie go through and answer any questions respective to the building. The building's been bought.
It's bought, but what's going on with it now? Do you know?
There are some rental businesses within the Dakota Motors building that we are addressing some concerns, if that is what you're questioning.
And another thing, when you tear Spruce Street up, you're gonna tear it all the way from Denmark all the way down to Highway 3?
No, the Spruce Street reconstruction project's going to extend from approximately First Street, or what would be a few hundred feet west of the railroad tracks, to Denmark. And we can get either Matt, our assistant engineer, or someone in zoning and planning to go through that to you and show you the phasings.
That starts June 17th?
We'll get you in touch with staff to get all your questions answered for you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so if I could get your contact information, then I can have a response for you to your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Hello, I'm Christy Rhodes. I live at 617 Spruce Street. And council, mayor, city staff, I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I would like to first read a couple of excerpts from an NBC interview with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from May 8th, 1967. Quote, I think you have to make a distinction between the people who are genuinely and absolutely committed to the white community
And your phone number.
on the question of racial equality, and I must confess that I think they're a very small minority. I think the vast majority of white Americans will go but so far. It's kind of an installment plan for equity. They're always looking for an excuse to go but so far, end quote. Another quote, human beings cannot continue to do wrong without eventually rationalizing that wrong. So slavery was justified, morally, biologically, theoretically, scientifically, everything else. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma that can never be overlooked, end quote. I appreciate that you didn't overlook. I appreciate that you didn't find excuses to only go but so far. I thank you for listening to your residents and educating our community today. For everyone listening, please note that the next several weeks, there will be Juneteenth events to support and celebrate nearby. Apple Valley, Burnsville, West St. Paul, and Minneapolis, and more. Again, thank you everybody, and happy Juneteenth. Okay, and from the same exact address.
Hello, I'm Kate, and I just want to thank everyone for helping to change the world. And that's all I really need to say. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. All right. Hi, my name is Kelsey Jazerski. I live at 18297 Dunbury Avenue, though I am not a stranger to standing up here. So good evening. Thank you, city council members, city administrators, staff, and mayor for providing the opportunity to share thoughts here tonight. First, I just want to say it's been a while since I stood up here, so let's just hope I remember how all this works. And yeah, I'm kind of here in the same reason that Christy came up here. And I actually want to thank her first for, again, submitting the Juneteenth proclamation for consideration. We were all disappointed in last year's response, so I'm happy to see that there's been progress. We're all aware that change doesn't happen overnight, and often it's a long, hard, and challenging road towards the goal. But thankfully, I am surrounded by determined, like-minded allies and advocates who are equally passionate about creating equity. Next, I just want to recognize Sarah Fry for attending the work session with Christy and for her continued support and advocacy for the proclamation and in equity work in general. Your voice and words are valuable. And I wish that I could have joined them, but my partner, husband, Eric, was doing Army things. So I had to stay home with the kiddos to make sure that they stayed alive. Mom things. Next, I just want to recognize Councilmember Wilson and Councilmember Leon for your voice and support at the work session, and of course, Councilmember Bernschelm. I said that right? Okay, good. For being intentional about leaving a note of support. I think that intention there says a lot in making sure that is shared. And I appreciate the thoughtfulness in that. And now I got to change documents because I am scattered and I don't know how to get my thoughts together. I also want to appreciate the intentional dialogue that took place at the work session. It's progress from last year, that's for sure. But I am still left feeling a little discontented and frustrated because I couldn't make it to the work session. I've heard about the conversation that took place from friends, read the article written by journalist Kara Hildreth, and then read the published work session minutes. And I guess I have as many questions as I have thoughts. First, I'm curious why the proclamation couldn't be adopted as written. Christy did a beautiful job drafting the proclamation. It was articulate and honors the importance of the day. Maybe I don't have that many questions, maybe just more thoughts. And I also want to comment on the discussion that happened at the work session about making Juneteenth a celebratory event for all of the diverse communities, cultures that live in this community. And I just want to be clear about this. Juneteenth is not for any other community other than the Black community. And to try and make it otherwise is literally co-opting this very historical and significant day. It's not a day to celebrate my culture or anybody else's culture or history other than the Black history. And this is a perfect example of systemic oppression, not recognizing something for what it is, but trying to transform it into something to make it look better. And no, just because the city has adopted a Juneteenth proclamation does not mean that you're going to be flooded with other requests by other communities of culture demanding their own proclamation or day. And it's not our Black community members' responsibility to provide any labor, emotional or physical. It's also not other community members of culture's responsibility to provide the same. So the fact that the proclamation was wordsmithed in a way to diminish the importance is problematic. That's been a practice throughout history to not recognize the factual historical events. So I implore everybody to do better and to be vulnerable and be courageous, because courage and bravery is the only thing that's going to make any sort of lasting change in this world. Thanks.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, which is the consent agenda. Seeing no changes, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Katie.
Second.
Second by Katie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on, 10A. So our 2021 Management and Annual Financial Report of Finance. Chris.
Bear with me here. Okay, now it's not here now. Okay. Now it disappeared. Apologize here, I'm trying to pull up the. Okay, that didn't work. There we go. Got it. Apologize for that. As council is aware, every year the city undergoes an annual audit, and it happened again this year. I have with me tonight Bill Lauer from our firm, MMKR. They conducted the audit, and he will briefly go through the results of that audit and their findings. At the end of his report, the action requested of the council is to accept the auditor's reports as they have prepared them. Thank you. Bill?
There we go. Thank you, Chris, Mayor Hoyt, members of council. Thank you for making time for us on your agenda this evening. What I'm going to do briefly is go through kind of the audit process with you, go through the results and the opinions that we issued as a result of that process, and then spend just a little bit of time going through some of the very high-level financial results for the year ended December 31st, 2021. The first thing I need to do is make sure that you understand what our role is as auditor and how that differs from the responsibility of city management when it comes to the annual comprehensive financial report, which is the primary document that you received as a result of the audit process. All of the financial information, the data, the disclosures that goes in that was provided and prepared by city management. We come out and audit that information to provide the opinion that goes to the front of the document as to whether it fairly presents the city's financial position and your results for the years under audit. Also, as part of that process, you're required to have an audit in accordance with government auditing standards. So part of that is us reviewing your internal controls and compliance over financial reporting. We issue a separate report letter that is a result of that process. You're also required to have an audit of your compliance with Minnesota laws and regulations. There's an audit guide that the Minnesota State Auditor's Office puts out and updates every year that we audit to, and you'll find a separate opinion letter related to that part of the audit as well. As far as the actual results of the audit process, first of all, I would just like to share that the process itself went very well. We found the records to be in good condition. Things were ready for us when we came out for audit, which particularly in this kind of COVID age, we're not finding a lot of places. So that was always very encouraging, and I think the results of the audit show that. As far as the opinion on your financial statements, we were once again able to provide an unmodified or clean opinion. It's the highest opinion that we can give on your financial statements. We do remind you of one thing, kind of an ongoing risk factor as far as your internal control over your financial reporting. You do have a small number of people in your business office, so there is limited segregation of duties in some areas. If you had more people involved, you could have more people involved in the various transaction cycles and segregate the duties more. So basically, you're placing more trust in less individuals. So it puts you at an increased risk there, and we need to make sure you're aware of. From a compliance standpoint, we had nothing to report as far as any issues with your financial statements and your compliance with government auditing standards. We did have one legal compliance issue to report this year. One of the requirements for paying claims, general disbursements, is that you have to pay those within 35 days of either the date you receive the goods or services or the invoice for goods or services, whichever is later. One of the 25 disbursements that we pulled and tested was not paid within that 35-day time limit. It's something we need, we test every year. With that, any questions before I move on to some of the financial information? Do you have?
Well, I just had one really quick one. So when you're looking at the claim payments, does that take into account if the vendor that we're purchasing goods and services from may not have their, for example, if there may have been something missing from their end that they're still needing to bill or reconcile with the city, which can cause a delay from our end?
Absolutely. We take a look at each one, and also, you know, the dating of the invoice. As long as there's documentation of when you received the invoice, we use that as starting the clock rather than what the vendor might date the invoice, because that there could be, you know, a week or more delay in how they date their invoices when they send them out. So we do, if there are mitigating circumstances like that, we do take that into account.
All right, thanks for the clarification.
All right, turning to some of your financial information. The city's finances are reported in funds. You maintain two different fund types. Governmental funds include your general, special revenue, debt service, and capital project funds. These funds report only current assets and current liabilities, so all of your capital assets that are used for general purposes, long-term debt related to those assets aren't reported in the funds. I'll come to a different presentation later where we do convert them to full accrual and include them, but for this purpose, it's just current assets and current liabilities. Your fund balances in total in your governmental funds at the end of the 2021 fiscal year were just over $20 million. That was an increase of about $806,000 from the year before. This presentation is broken into two pieces. Up top, we show the change by the different components of fund balance you report, and down below there we show the changes in the various major funds that you maintain. I'll take a look at the top of this presentation first. You see the large change there in your non-spendable fund balance went down by about $1.2 million. These are things that are like prepaids, inventories, things that you've already spent the cash for one purpose, you can't respend it, so it gets reported in a separate component of your fund balance. In this case, you'd made a large down payment on an aerial fire truck at the end of 2020 that was for delivery in 2021. That's why you're seeing that decrease of $1.2 million. You took delivery of that truck during 2021. Your restricted fund balances are fund balances that are restricted by outside requirements. Most of that increase of about $846,000 you see there were in two areas. Your resources available for debt service went up. Mainly there was due to some prepaid special assessments on some new bonds that you issued recently. And your restricted for park improvements went up also because of some of the development you had in the city this year. You took in a fair amount of park dedication fees that are restricted for park improvement. Committed fund balances there, that's primarily your stormwater trunk fees. Again, that's a development fee that you've committed internally to only be spent for certain purposes. And then the unassigned fund balance mainly relates to your general fund, and that is the element of fund balance that you can spend for any purpose. That went up by about $753,000, and that relates primarily to the residual fund balance in your general fund. This next graph kind of drills down within the governmental funds to look at that general fund. That's your primary operating fund. This shows a 5-year history of your fund position at the end of the year in terms of your cash balance, which are the yellow bars, and the fund balance in the fund, which is the blue bars. At the end of 2021, you had about $5.5 million in cash in your general fund, and you had a total fund balance of about $6.9 million. That represented an increase of $724,000 from the prior year. You'd budgeted to break even, so $724,000 better than projected in your budget. Of that, you had an unassigned fund balance of about $6.8 million. That represented 43.5% of your budgeted expenditures and transfers out for the current year you're operating in 2022. The city's policy is to maintain a fund balance between 40 and 50% of that subsequent year's budget. So you're right in line with your budget policy there. This graph shows the primary reason that you need that fund balance. This shows your general fund revenues and the different sources that you receive those revenues from. As you can see, your primary revenue source in the general fund is property taxes. You get about 80% of your annual general fund revenue through your property tax revenue, or property tax levy, which is collected twice a year, mainly May, November. So that fund balance provides operating capital cash until you receive those large tax settlements. Your general fund revenues in total for the 2021 fiscal year were about $13.2 million. This is where most of the budget variance was. You were about $703,000 over budget, roughly 5.5%. That came in a few different areas. A few of them are mainly development related. Licenses and permits was about $273,000 higher than projected, and your charges for services were about $182,000 higher than projected. Also, your intergovernmental revenues were about $296,000 over budget, and that's mainly due to some smaller grants that you didn't budget either the revenues or matching expenditures for. On the expenditure side, you spent about $12.8 million in the general fund. In 2021, that was roughly $200,000 or about 1.5% under budget. You were a little bit under budget in most areas other than public safety. The biggest variance there was in public works, which was under budget due to some open positions and also some savings on supplies and utilities. The other fund type that the city maintains are enterprise funds. These funds are run more like a commercial business where you're basically financing the full cost of these operations primarily through user fees. The city maintains 6 different enterprise funds, as you see on the bottom of this presentation. Your liquor store operation, and then the kind of typical utility funds, sewer, solid waste, stormwater, water, and streetlight. You have a total net position in your enterprise funds at the end of the 2021 fiscal year of about $71.4 million, an increase of $1.5 million from the year before. Most of that net position represents your investment in capital assets. About 71% of that equity is your investment in your water and sewer infrastructure, things of that nature. About 25% of that is unrestricted net position, about $18 million, which represents actual spendable resources there. And you do have another $2.5 million that you've had on the books for a while, restricted for future drinking water treatment plant. Your liquor fund ended the year with a total net position of $1.8 million, up about $300,000 from the year before. Gross sales for the 2021 fiscal year were about $5.6 million. So you can see from the graph that essentially puts you back about where you were in 2019. You did have a little bit of a dip in 2020 due to some of the limitations and hour limitations due to COVID. Your gross profit was about $1.4 million, about 25.5%. This has been very consistent with your liquor operation year to year. And you had operating income of about $365,000. If you look at that bottom row over the last 4 or 5 years there, again, that's been a very consistent result. And you did provide about $165,000 in transfers to support the general fund and other city capital needs out of this fund. Your sewer operating fund ended the year with a total net position of about $19 million. That was down $494,000 from the year before. This is the one utility fund you have where you see there they've got kind of 2 lines showing your operating income and how it's covering all of your costs, including depreciation, which is the green line, and all of your costs excluding that depreciation, which is the red line. So you are covering all of your actual out-of-pocket expenses with your operating revenues here, but you, for the last 3 years, haven't totally covered your depreciation of your capital assets in this fund. But you did have total operating revenues of about $2.3 million, which was up about $100,000 from the year before. Your solid waste fund ended the year with a total net position of about $2.2 million. Revenues in this fund were about $2.85 million, up about 6% from the year before. Your operating revenue, operating income for the year was about $287,000. In your stormwater fund, you ended the year with a total net position of just over $15 million, an increase of about $203,000 from the year before. Again, this fund's been very consistent for the last 3 years. Your operating revenues were about $1.1 million, roughly a $9,000 increase from the year before. And your operating expenses were about $581,000, and that represented about a $51,000 increase, roughly 10% from the year before. In the water fund, you've got an ending net position of about $32 million. That was an increase of just over $1 million from the year before. You had operating revenues in this fund of about $2.9 million for 2021. That was about a 15% increase. Some of that was driven by increased consumption. It was a drier year in 2021, so you had more irrigation usage. Also, you're seeing some of the effects of the development in the city. You had more water availability charges in 2021 than the prior year. On the expenditure side, you spent about $1.75 million. That was about a 9% increase from the year before, and a lot of that was additional maintenance costs. Your streetlight fund is one of the newer funds in the city. You've got a total net position in this fund of about $328,000, up about $50,000 from the year before. Operating revenues in this fund were very flat, about $230,000, down less than 1% from the year before. And your operating costs in this fund are about $181,000. That was an increase of about $7,000. And your main cost in this fund, of course, is the utilities to run those streetlights. And the last table I'll bring to your attention is your government-wide net position statement. So this takes all of the fund information that I just talked about and puts it in a single presentation. It converts those governmental funds to a full accrual. So when we were talking about the general fund and those governmental funds, it didn't include your long-term capital assets. It didn't include your outstanding bonds, your outstanding long-term employee benefits. In this presentation, that's converted in your governmental activities as presented here to that same full accrual basis that your enterprise business type activities are presented. So all those long-term assets and liabilities are brought in. So this presentation kind of gives you a longer term look at your financial position and the change from year to year. So the lower part of that, the business type activities, you'll notice is exactly the same information that we just talked about for your enterprise fund. Since they're already on the full accrual basis, it's dollar for dollar the same as those funds. The change is on the top part of that. As I mentioned, the governmental activities, including all your long-term assets and liabilities, you've got a net position on the governmental activities of about $58 million. That was about $7.6 million higher than the year before. The big increase there was in restricted net position. In addition to some of the fund balance increases that we talked about in your debt service and your park dedication fees, you also had an increase in funding restricted for state aid street improvements. The unrestricted net position also increased by about $2.3 million, in addition to the positive operating results in your general fund. Some of the other things that affect that are some of your long-term employee benefits, and one thing that's benefited all cities this year is the statewide PERA pension plans were better funded this time around in the actuarial study than they were in prior years, so you did see some lessening of your proportionate share of the unfunded amount in those two statewide plans, and that comes through in that unrestricted net position line that you see there. So that's typically everything I go over from a financial standpoint. Questions on anything that I went through? Or Chris, I don't know if there's anything you wanted me to expand on.
Katie?
I have none right now, thank you.
Steve?
I'm good, thank you.
Katie?
No, kudos to Chris for this being his first audit with Farmington and still getting us to that great, excellent, clean rating that we're getting.
Nick?
I want to add that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
With that, look for a motion to accept the auditor's report. So motion to accept the auditor's report.
Motion to accept.
Motion by Steve.
Second.
Second by Katie. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Lean,
Yes.
Councilmember Porter,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burnjum,
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt.
Yes. Thank you, sir. All right, 12A is the award of Sales Series 2022A, General Obligation Bonds. Chris, you're up again.
Mayor, members of the council, as you're aware, we've been going through a process to issue debt for our street reconstruction this summer and our parking lot reconstruction this summer. And tonight is the next step. Today, our financial advisor, Northland Securities, solicited bids for the bond, and the bid results have come in. The action requested tonight is that you adopt the resolution awarding the sale of the 2022A bonds. And to discuss the sale tonight, we have Jessica Green here tonight from Northland Securities to give you all the full results.
Mayor, Council, good evening.
Welcome.
As Chris mentioned, here tonight with the results of your bond sale. So I believe that Council should have a sales summary before you. So if it is okay with Mayor and Council, what I'll plan to do is just go through that information and then stand for any questions that you may have.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, so the purpose here, of course, is to provide funding to complete the city's 2022 street reconstruction projects and then also to finance parking lot improvements. We have a par amount of $3,650,000. And this is down from what we had anticipated in the finance plan that was delivered to you last month, where we had started at $3,965,000. And I'll describe why that figure came down. The bonds were structured with level debt service over a 10-year term, and the city's rating of AA+ was affirmed for this bond sale. The rating report looks similar to what we've seen in the past, but the city continues to score very well in terms of the strong economy, very strong financial management, and then also very strong liquidity. The city did receive 4 bids in total, and the low bid came from R.W. Baird out of Milwaukee. Again, the par amount here being $3,650,000. We have an average coupon of 4.11. The true interest cost here, 2.64, and the all-inclusive cost is 2.88%. And I'll talk a little bit more towards the end about the difference between that coupon and the actual true interest cost. The bid tab can be found on the second page. So you'll see those 4 bids that came in. You'll see for the Baird bid, the low bid, they bid alongside a rather large syndicate, so a number of underwriters participating here. And then from there, you've got your sources and uses identified on page 3, so just broken out into those separate portions. The abatement portion, of course, going to be funding those parking lot improvements, and then the street reconstruction portion shown separately. You have the combined debt service schedule that can be found on page 4. And total debt service on an annual basis, roughly $450,000. And then on page 5, we have separated that out into the abatement portion, which again is for the parking lot improvements, roughly $175,000 per year. And then the street reconstruction portion coming in at around $275,000. And then finally on page 6, what we have is the pricing summary. So in the 3rd and 4th columns from the left, you'll see the 3rd column labeled coupon and then the 4th labeled yield. Premium is what occurs when investors are looking for a higher stated rate or a coupon on the bonds, so they're willing to give you cash up front to get that. With that premium, we're able to downsize the bonds, so you're effectively issuing less in principal, you're paying a little bit more in interest to essentially provide some additional interest from investors. So that's where that $365,000 or so came in premium, which is why we were able to downsize the bonds to that $3,650,000. And that should do it for the sales summary. You do have a resolution providing for the issuance and sale of $3,650,000 in general obligation bonds. This will be considered Series 2022A for the city, and I am happy to take any questions that you may have.
Katie, any questions?
Nope.
Nick?
Nothing.
Katie?
I have none, thank you.
Steve?
I have a bond rating question. So, you know, AA plus is a very strong rating, low risk. What would be kind of the metrics that would take us from a potential rating on an issue from a AA plus to a AAA?
Sure. So in the rating report, S&P does actually comment on the metrics that they would look at to consider an upgrade. The current rating is AA plus stable. So in the rating report, they comment that they don't anticipate seeing that rating change likely in the next couple of years. Now, they do give strong marks to the city due to the growth and development that you're experiencing, but what they'd be looking for is per capita incomes to increase relative to those AAA peers and also market values. So a couple of things that are hard to control, but again, as that growth continues to happen, market values increase, et cetera, that is something that the rating agency would consider.
All right, thank you.
I have no questions. Thank you. With that, we look to adopt, or looking for a motion to adopt the updated resolution awarding the sale of 3.965 general obligation bonds, Series 2022A, to the low bidder as presented by Northland Securities.
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Katie,
Second.
second by Nick. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Wilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Porter?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes.
Councilmember Burnjum?
Yes.
Councilmember Lean?
Yes.
Thank you. Roundtable. Steve, you start.
All right. Yeah, I think Katie mentioned this earlier. It'd be hard not to thank the Master of Finance for all the incredible work. I mean, honestly, you know, coming in, just doing a really good job. Yeah, the audit and getting ready for the budget. So really appreciate all your hard work, Chris. Our baseball team is doing well, and they are in the section championship game tomorrow in Red Wing, and I was there on Saturday. Very good time. So obviously wish them well and hope we go back to state for the second year in a row. And of course, we had a big event last Friday with a whole bunch of seniors finishing high school, so congratulations to them and their parents. That's all I have. Katie?
Yeah, I echo the congratulations to the class of 2022. That's amazing. Wanted to give a public thank you to Officer Lacey Newman. She'll know what that's for, but we appreciate everything that she's doing, and to see the impact on the students' lives is pretty incredible. So, and thank you, Chief.
Katie?
Yeah, Councilmember Porter and I were just talking before the meeting tonight about due days coming up and all of the exciting events that are planned for that at the end of this month. There is something for everyone, and this is a volunteer group of people that have come together to put this on, and they've done a really, really great job. So if you get a chance, check out that schedule and make sure you attend some of those events coming up. And then I wanted to give a shout out to what many people know as Miss Kelly. She's a teacher at Meadowview, but she's also my neighbor, and she planned a really awesome neighborhood event for us over at Disted Park for the last day of elementary school, and had some food trucks come out, and I've never seen so many people in our neighborhood out at a park, and it was really fun to see. And I know there's lots of Miss Kellys throughout Farmington that plan things like this for their neighborhoods, and just know that we see you, and you're doing a great job and a great service to all of your neighbors when you plan these things.
Trying to figure out if my calendar was off. The police department open house was 3 weeks ago, right?
21st.
Did I say thank you for that at the last council meeting?
No,
We haven't had one yet.
I was gonna say, did we not have one? Nobody else said anything, so I thought I was off and we should have thanked you last time.
We're saving it
but-
for you.
Okay. No, my kids sat in that bounce house for a good 2 hours. I think they actually missed the canine thing, so great job with that. It was a huge turnout. It was really cool to see everything that was there. They already touched the high school. Chris, great job to you too. Thank you to everyone who did Memorial Day activities. There was a lot of events kind of around town. We actually got a shout out in the newspaper. I was kind of bummed. I usually take my kids up to Snelling because my grandfather has a memorial up there, but they were gone, so we went to Top Gun instead. So I figured it was Memorial Day-ish, right? So that's probably all I got.
Joel?
I'll be out of town for 10 days in the near future, so Leo will be covering the council meeting on the 20th.
I'd ask you where you're going, but it's probably privileged.
Across the pond.
All right, I'll go
Have fun,
next.
wear sunblock.
Not
Lynn?
needed where I'm going.
Yeah, right. Lynn?
Right, just wanted to announce that the city of Farmington has a new application system for our applicants. Really excited to roll that out. We have some great positions out there. We have the HR specialist position, and now today we just posted the public works position. So we encourage people to take a look at that and tell all your friends and neighbors and have them apply. Also, on minbid.org, we have some dumpsters, 15-yard and 20-yard dumpsters, total of 12 out there for people to bid on. So if you have contractors or construction people around town, we'd love you to go and bid on them, and they're down at the city shop if anybody wants to take a look at them. So, and we have due day buttons here for sale for $4.
Thank you. Chief?
Yeah, I'd like to just offer a couple of quick thank yous. First of all, to everybody that came to our open house. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of work every year to put that on. But each year we seem to do just a little bit better, with the helicopters and the bounce houses. And knew this year was an interactive CSI exhibit that was really pretty cool for the younger kids. We had the photo booth there for the first time this year, which was just a bunch of fun. I hope your kids all went home and slept well that night. The other thank you that I have is to Sergeant Nate Seam, who coordinates all of that. I don't do any of that work. I tell him how much he can spend, and he goes nuts, and he does just a fantastic job with it, so I hope everybody had a good time.
Thank you. Kelly?
I want to thank the library. It's a great partnership, so thank you to Barb and Amy. Daniel, look forward to meeting you, and we look forward to the program starting relatively soon, so thank you for all you do as well. Just want to remind the residents, summer programs do start next week, so you still have time to register, from golf lessons to camps to t-ball, soccer, farmingtonmn.gov. And then speaking of due days, Kiss the Pig canisters are out around your favorite businesses. It is a fundraiser for the Rambling River Center again. I hear a couple of the candidates have a little special things planned. So if you have seen any of their videos on Facebook, encourage you to donate to them. So put your change or your dollars in their canisters.
Thank you. Chris?
Basically, budget and budget and budget and more of the budget and stuff like that. But try to keep my head above water.
Chief?
I'd just like to invite the council to the return of the 1926 fire truck next Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Fire Station 1. As you guys know, the Relief Association and the auxiliary have been putting some money into that truck to get it restored, and it looks amazing. So if you guys are available, stop by and see it. Hopefully come pulling up to the station at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, sir. That's everybody, right? Yeah, summer's finally here. School's out for most kids around. So just keep your eyes open when you're out on the paths and they're on their bikes. And I don't remember, I saw a post or something the other day where there's like 50 bikes outside of like a house or a business, or I forget.
Dairy Queen.
That's a Dairy Queen, yeah. That's crazy. I'm like, just summer, you turn around and all of a sudden it's here again. But just be cognizant because they're around. You know, there's a lot of paths, and you know, it's nice out, weather's good, kids want to be moving. So please slow down when you're going through town and be mindful. Congratulations to all the graduates. Commencement was Friday night, I believe. They had phenomenal weather. A lot of grad parties here coming up. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention due days as well. The committee's been working hard since the better part of March. We're down to less than, I believe, 3.5 weeks or something to go. And yes, there is a little bit of something for everybody. We've got the Thirsty Thursday event. We've got the scavenger hunt starting Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday event. It's $10 to get in without a button, $8 with the due days button. They're only $4. There's 22 or 23 vendors that are going to be serving alcoholic beverages. So $8 for kind of an all-you-can-drink. We're going to have 4 food trucks, some other food vendors. There's a lot of button promotions through town for you to go and patron local businesses prior to. We have the Beer Brats and Bingo Friday night. We have 15 events or something on Saturday. There's Cuckoo Kangaroo. There's a couple of bands. The Rotary's going to have a stand. Food trucks. Huge parade on Sunday. So basically, Wednesday through Sunday should be downtown. Just saying. And if you don't show up, please feel free to volunteer if you don't want to partake in the festivities. Every year we have a hard time getting volunteers, and right now we've had a constant 12 to 15 people. So if you want to be a part of it, we will take you every Thursday at the Rambling River Center from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Show up and we'll show you how to get to work. With that, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Katie.
Second.
Second by Katie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned at 8:18.